Daily Telegram.
All right. Hey there, everybody. Temple Daily Telegram Sports Podcast back in business. Recorded live and then posted a day later on tdtnews.com.
It counts. We'll say
You're
it's
right.
live.
We could do it live, but y'all probably don't want to see us live.
One of these days we're going to do it. We're going to hop on YouTube Live or something.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Anyway, that's for another day, I guess. Now we'll spend the next 35 minutes talking about things. Josh Weaver back with Daniel Zepeda.
Hello.
Marcus Hood's over there.
Howdy.
Howdy, Marcus.
Howdy.
Well, what should we talk about? No, I'm just kidding.
I think there's some football games going on, something
week,
like that.
Week 3 of the Class 4A and through 1A season
Yep.
upcoming. Temple and Belton officially took the field for their first fall practices. Those seasons start September 25th. We'll go over a little bit of Wildcats and Tigers for everybody.
That felt like it used to be so far away, but now it's just right around the corner now.
Yeah, the 6A and 5A seasons are starting real quick, and it goes fast for those guys. It's, a few practices. I think pads went on, shoulder pads went on Wednesday, full pads and full contact, or Saturday. Next week's a scrimmage, and the following week, bam,
Here it is.
week 1.
Yeah, I think everybody's like scrimmaging on Thursdays.
Yeah,
this year,
yeah.
So,
So things are starting in a hurry. But as far as the teams that have been playing for a couple weeks, if you missed any of the results of our area teams, here they are from last week. We had San Antonio Davenport defeating Lake Belton 42-35. Grandview holding off Salado 21-7. Belleville beating Cameron Yo 54-41. Rockdale had to replace its starting quarterback, but fared pretty well anyway on offense, beating Taylor 55-21. Academy beat Clifton 17-10. Troy defeated Mejia 55-37. That game didn't start till 2 in the morning or something like that.
felt like it.
Yeah. San Saba narrowly beat Rogers 24-21.
Close one.
Yes. We had Holland not narrowly beating Bosqueville 62-33. Rosebud Lott, its first win since the middle of the 2018 season,
Yep, snapped
or
out.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
32-13 over Wortham. Crawford defeated Bruceville Eddy 39-25. Bruceville Eddy was ahead at halftime in that one. Couldn't hold the lead. Bartlett, speaking of streaks being broken, knocked off Ranger 48-12. We'll get into Bartlett a little bit, with the Bulldogs winning for the first time in 26 games. And then Rio Vista beat Granger 35-14. I think we're a little surprised with that result.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But those are the scores from last week. We'll talk about a little bit about those games, I think, coming up. As far as what's on tap for Friday, the Idle team this week is Lake Belton. But otherwise, we have Lorena at Gatesville, Gerald at McGregor, Stephenville is at Salado, Groesbeck is at Academy, Cameron Yo at Franklin, Rockdale at Lexington, Troy at Robinson, Whitney at Rogers, Florence at Bruceville Eddy, Johnson City LBJ at Holland, Hubbard at Moody, Rosebud Lott at Texas Wind Homeschool. I don't really know where
That's gonna be in Waco.
Okay, thank you.
It's when it just kind of blows away.
Yeah, it's just
Wherever the wind
at a
takes it.
homeschool. I just didn't know
At
if
Bobby's house. At Tim's
parents
house,
were
yeah.
hosting that one somewhere. Bartlett at Meridian, Frost at Granger, and Buckholtz at Lomita.
All right.
Cool.
Oh, sorry.
Once
So
again, all right.
that's that. So where should we start? I'm going to start just because I'd like to talk about the Temple Wildcats real quick, since that is
Hey, it's Josh's world. We're just living in it.
right.
So
I guess we don't. Anyway, Wildcats are a couple weeks away from opening the season against Longview at AT&T Stadium, and things find a way of ramping up in intensity, once those helmets go on. That's the first thing I noticed out there at practice the other day on Monday. Teams have been going through these summer strength and conditioning, no helmets, no practice jerseys, really just kind of shorts and t-shirts. kind of going through things, but those helmets go on and things start to get real quick, and that's kind of what I'm sure you noticed over there at Belton as well, Daniel.
Oh yeah.
The coaching kind of gets louder.
It's louder, a little more detail oriented.
Yeah, the activity's a little more intense. So, Temple is coming off an 8-3 season, 7 straight playoff appearances, but 2 consecutive first round exits. And last year's was after Temple picked up a share of a district title. But Wildcats are returning a whole bunch on defense, and we'll get into this, as our season previews come out in the paper in a couple weeks. But just kind of a quick overview. Defense was young last year, but they got a bunch of guys coming back. Offense is going to feature a first-year quarterback for the 4th straight season.
Yeah,
They got QB competition there between a sophomore, Michael Harrison Pilot, who played defense last year, and then a JV quarterback, Umberto Arizmendi, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. But so that's not going to be decided for a while. But I know Scott Stewart is kind of excited to see what those two can bring to that competition. Belton's a little more established at quarterback at least, but new coach and Brett Sniffen, and the Tigers are kind of starting a new thing over there.
New era, really. Yeah, I mean Ruben Jimenez, he was a starter last year, and it looks like it's still his position to keep as long as he keeps doing what he's doing. But Brett Sniffen over there, he's got the Tigers looking good. Everyone I talked to over there, they were just kind of the same message. Just everyone's glad to get started, putting those helmets on. Not full on contact for that first day of practice, but just the atmosphere. You got the music blaring, you got the practice a little more intensified. Sniffen, when I talked to him afterwards, he said, he's going to yell, he's going to shout, he's going to expect a lot. He even said himself he expects to pretty much as perfect within those sidelines to you can get. So he demands a lot from his players, and but he's confident. He knows this is going to be a quality team, but the 2 main things that he said were team health and defense. Those were the big kind of points of emphasis. He said
the defense has been a point of emphasis for a handful of years.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a recurring thing. But the Tigers had a lot of injuries last year, so if they can stay healthy, and he said ideally they'd like to give up at least half as many points as they did last year, or not allow, I guess, half as many points. So we'll see what happens. We'll get a little more in depth as the season gets closer. But
like we said, scrimmages for both Temple and Belton are going to be September 17th. That's Thursday night. Belton is going to be at Hutto, and Temple is hosting College Station for those scrimmages. Cool.
That's your Class 6A wrap-up.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting busy with that stuff. Impressive wins last week, in my mind. Rockdale over Taylor, like I mentioned quickly earlier, 55-21. Backup quarterback is now starting quarterback, Kobe Mitchell. He completed 18 of 19 passes, I think I saw. And, I know Taylor's might not be, it's not a Battle of the Bell game, but that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're still going to bring their
season at quarterback, and then you step in, you're going 18-19.
And Taylor's going to bring it in that game. That's a rivalry game, right. So I mean that's no walkthrough. And Mitchell's been really solid in his 2 starts, or I guess his 2 games so far at quarterback.
Right. Academy beating Clifton to move to 2-0. Academy now has the same amount of wins as it had last year when it went 2-8.
And their defense
has been big so far, holding Clifton to 10 points, and I think the touchdown Clifton scored was late in the game too.
Oh wow!
And their Academy's defense is leading the area right now. Just 2 games in, but allowing only 184 and a half yards a game. They also beat Rogers, a rival. So solid there. Troy.
And both of those, real quick with Academy, both those on the road.
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah, neutral site. Or no, that was at Rogers.
Yeah, at Rogers. Right.
Yeah. I'm so used to that one being at UMHB.
Right.
But, both on the road. And then Troy needed a bounce back win last week, and they were, kind of in a shootout there with Mejia for a while, and then pulled away in the second half.
Yeah, but really the fourth quarter. I mean,
Yeah.
they entered the fourth quarter trailing 31-29. I think. Yeah, and they won that game 55-37. So I mean, that's a
Wow.
lot of points in one quarter.
Yeah. And of course, it was a lot of Zach Rabacek leading the
Yeah.
way. Seven total touchdowns.
7 total touchdowns,
Yeah.
6 rushing, 1 kick return.
Man,
Holland putting up 62 points. I don't know how, we'll see how our offense does, learning things. Okay, 62 points and like a gazillion yards.
yeah,
All right.
typical Brad Talbert answer.
Yeah, so Hornets 2-0 now. A couple area teams who hung in with quality opponents, Salado and Grandview. Grandview's won just a whole bunch the last couple of years, including back-to-back state championships. But it was 14-7 late in that one. Salado just couldn't get over the hump there. And Rogers going to San Saba. I think were they a state semifinalist last year or somewhere around there?
Yeah,
I know I made that up last week. I can't remember now, but yeah, that sounds about right.
But anyway, a quality opponent on the road, and Rogers hung tough. Rogers 0-2 now, which may be surprising for us, but some young guys still finding their way over there.
yeah.
But the big the big win for the area teams were Rosebud Lot winning and Bartlett winning. Bartlett especially. I mean, they only had one win since 2017, and they hadn't won a game in the last 2 years. So
Back to back 0-10 season.
Yeah.
It's been tough sledding for the Bulldogs.
but pretty convincing win last week. 48-12 over Ranger. And those guys are pretty excited and getting a lot of attention for breaking the losing streak too.
Yeah, no, I talked to the head coach over there, Brian Kozma. He's been there for his second year now, and yeah, that's what he said. This for getting this win, that's the most media attention he's gotten since he's been there at Bartlett. And so yeah, I mean, you win a big game like that, you put a 26-game losing streak to bed like that. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of attention, and him and Brandon Hicks over at Rosebud Lot, their head coach, really kind of had the same message when I talked to them. They both kind of said, they'd be lying if they tried to sell it as, no, we weren't thinking about the losing streak. We weren't worried about that because, of course you do. It's in the back of your mind, back of your coaches, your players, the community. So everyone's kind of thinking about it. So to finally put it to bed, it's a relief, obviously, but more so for those two programs, especially since they're trying to rebuild and kind of establish new cultures. It's more of just kind of the validation of the work they've been doing.
Well, and like we've talked about before, and Marcus has, been here the longest among the three of us, but I mean, those are two programs that were actually really, really good.
Yeah, they've had their time.
Not that long ago.
I've covered both
long
of them.
enough, but yeah.
I've covered both of them in state title games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not funny, but it's interesting, how these teams kind of, with the growth of other areas and the not and the lack of growth in some areas, have these programs kind of go through these.
yeah, it's more defined really at the smaller schools because really, I mean, you never know what you're pretty much dealt.
Yeah.
The 20 kids, if you're lucky, that you get.
Right.
And what they got, that's what you get.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to do the best with them. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we kind of saw it with Salado before Alan Hare got there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their student body grew, but the football program was kind of slow to catch up there for a few years, and eventually that kind of got turned around, and with more and more kids interested in playing. But yeah, at Rosebud Lot and Bartlett, I mean, you pretty much whatever elementary school kids are there, usually are the ones that you
You better get to know them really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it just takes the right coach to figure out what those kids can do and turn those kids around, make them into winners. Some coaches don't have that ability all the time.
Well, it's not. I mean, Holland's an example. It's not like their growth is like
right,
but Talbert and that staff has he knows what he gets and he knows what to get out of those kids and to be successful, especially the last 6-7 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier this year, and he's changing the offense up just because that's what the kids allow him to do this year. He's got to go with what they're successful at. And I mean, the last few years, it's kind of have more balanced passing and rushing attack, and got the kids that do it. And this year, they're going to rely heavily on the run. So.
Yeah, just play to your strengths.
Yep.
Team we should mention I guess, more often. And one of our very few 2-0 teams is Lampasas. You know, it's kind of a fringe thing. We it's a team we kind of pick up once the playoffs roll around. But smoked Stephenville last week, 41-0. And Lampasas, are they number 3?
I believe they're 3.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
Yeah. So they've obviously kind of picked up where they left off last year. And you know, I know it's like one of those teams where people kind of ask about Lampasas, or they want to know
Right.
what's going on down there, you know. But so Lampasas is 2-0, Academy's 2-0, Rockdale 2-0, and Holland 2-0, and that's it.
Yep.
I think it's really interesting, you know, of those 4 teams. You know, if you would have said like these were teams that were going to be 2-0 after 2 weeks, you know, I think people wouldn't have batted an eye at Lampasas. They would have expected it from Holland. You know, even Rockdale, you know, losing their starting quarterback, but you know all the firepower they have. But Academy, man, coming off of what they did last year and all the injuries,
What they didn't do, yeah.
You know, I think this is a very positive step if you're rooting for the Bumblebees. You know, we talked about the defense. I was there at their season opener versus Rogers, where the offense really looked good. So they've got a lot of positives going for them right now against, like we said, 2 quality opponents. That both games were on the road. They have their home opener this week. So
Yeah. Coach Lancaster over there, he's obviously, you know, excited to be 2-0 right now, and he wants his players to kind of, you know, be excited with him and kind of, you know, take advantage of that winning feeling. He's obviously very pleased with the defense, and he likes a lot of aspects of the offense so far. He credited quarterback Jerry Cephas for throwing the ball pretty well. He would like to see more balance as far as running the ball. He'd like to see a little bit more production. I mean, the Bees have only scored 37 points in those 2 games. Now, they've held opponents to only 25 combined. But, you know, that's not a very wide margin. That's only 12 points there. So, you know, they're doing enough on both sides of the ball, and obviously room for improvement. But, you know, those guys are, you know, pretty fired up. With Grossbeck coming into town.
Yeah, the rushing attack, like Lancaster mentioned, you know, that Jerry Cephas can get it done with his legs and with his arm, so you know that he's a dual threat guy. It looked like they're starting running back Darion Franklin. He's a junior. I don't think he got a whole lot of playing time last year, or I don't remember that he did, but he kind of looks like he's going to be the guy this year. So, I mean, that dude's got a lot of athleticism. He's real smart. So, I mean, I think once the season, just give him some more reps. I think he'll be fine. And, I mean, that as long as that defense keeps playing like it has been, you know, I think that offense is only going to get better as it gets more balanced.
I mean, it's now what Academy's done too, at least shown in these first couple non-district games, is shown that District 11 3A, once it gets going, I mean, it's not like, you know, now there might be it might be all 7 of those teams.
Competing
playoff
for
caliber
Yeah.
teams. You know, not saying Academy wasn't beforehand, but I mean, you know, with McGregor, Lorena, Troy, Caldwell, Rockdale also. I mean, where do you even...
Yeah, that's just...
How do you start to weed out anybody there at this point? I mean, McGregor's 0-2 right now, but... You know.
Well, I mean, every single coach you talk to at the beginning of the season is going to tell you the same thing. Oh, it's a week by week process. We got to focus on who's ahead of us. But that district, when that gets going, that is really going to actually be a week by week process.
I mean, it's they're different teams too. Like all up and down, they do different things. I mean, Rockdale and Yo are kind of similar as far as offensive potential, but I mean, it's just like, I mean, you know, Troy's running the ball.
Yeah, they're going to run it.
And that's one thing. Last week, you know, after the game, I covered the Troy Mejia game, and after the game, I was talking to Porter, you know, because Mejia ran the slot T, and Porter told me, you know, I scheduled this game with the old coach. They have a new coach this year, and they ran the spread, and he wanted to do that, kind of get those different look offenses in there. And this week they're playing Robinson, which is a pistol based kind of a Rogers type running offense, and then they have a game against Franklin, which is another slot T. So Porter's like,
you're not really seeing the passing.
Exactly. So I mean, he's a little. He's not going to show it necessarily, but I know he's a little bit concerned about his secondary wanting to he wants to get them tested at some point because it's going to happen in this district, and I'd rather it happen, see what they can do before district starts. But
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to put up the points just running behind. What's this kid?
Oh yeah, who's that guy again? What's his name?
I don't know. I think he should sponsor our podcast. We mention him so much. Zach Herbachik.
We both mentioned Franklin as opponents for our area teams, and I meant to check before doing this. Franklin had a COVID situation last week and had to cancel its game.
Oh yeah,
Right.
And
I did check with
okay.
Tommy Brashear, and he said
Okay.
the game so
It's
far
going
is on.
Okay.
And that was as of late last night.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
I
think-
should clarify late Tuesday night
Yeah.
since y'all might not hear this till Friday morning.
Right. Yeah, and that I think Tuesday was the first day where they can kind of start, giving those updates. So, okay, so that game is still on for Yo, and Franklin's like one of those teams that's been in the district we've covered before, but it's always like
Right.
a team we see, and usually
Yeah.
really good. A really good opponent for our area teams.
yeah, playoff caliber.
Yeah, definitely. Looking up and down to see if there's anything else. Like we mentioned before, you saw Rogers. I'm a little bit surprised. I don't know if they're worried out there yet. Probably not. Rogers non-district schedule is pretty tough. They knew they were kind of going through
Right.
the grinder there.
Yeah.
But their district isn't really that much easier. But I'd be curious to see how things go Friday against Whitney to maybe see if Rogers can take a step, in the right direction. But that's
Yeah,
going to be
Whitney's
tough.
another pretty
Yeah.
good team.
Yeah.
They're 2-0 right now too. And
Yeah.
I don't remember what they did last year playoff wise, but I think they were a couple rounds deep, as I recall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just
I think they lost that district to Grandview. I think.
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was. Yeah, is that who
That was-
the
which
game you
game?
cut the third round of the playoffs. Is that the game you covered?
I covered Troy. Yeah, Troy Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
The
go.
That's what I was
I mean,
thinking.
the
Yeah.
slugfest 9-7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Whitney's kind of turned their program around the last few
Mm-hmm.
years, and that'll be another, like you said, another tough test for Rogers.
Yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think
over there.
the issue for Rogers is just them scoring the ball. Charlie Roten, their head coach, kind of mentioned that he didn't, have his best play calling day in their opener against Academy, and then they scored 21 points last week, so not a ton of points for an offense that at least last year could put up a ton of points against almost anybody.
Yeah, weather could have been a thing. last
Coulda.
week. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
it was.
For everyone, this whole area was just such a wash.
But yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I think they'll be okay once district rolls around. Obviously they would like to get that win versus Academy. If you get the win versus Academy, you're 1-1. If you lose to San Saba, so 0-2 doesn't look great. Even 0-3 next week if they lose to Whitney. On the negative side, not the way you want to start, but at the same time, it's all kind of doesn't truly matter the result until you get to district. So I think they'll be okay.
I think we're all going to be okay.
It's all gonna be all right.
And like Moody showed last week, it doesn't matter if you win by 30 points or 1 point.
There you go.
A win's a win. And Moody with that 7-6 win gets them 7 points on the season.
There you
Yep.
But
Yeah, that's they've scored 7 and given up 60, and they're 1-1. So that's good.
But
Never know, man.
You get a win, and for Moody, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
they're wanting something positive out there as well.
Right.
Not quite in the same.
That was Lonnie Judd's first victory.
Right,
Yeah,
as head
exactly.
coach, so.
go. Especially with that game getting rained out or whatnot, and then having to play at 11 a.m. that Saturday, that next morning. So
I think it was over before I even woke up. So
probably, yeah, me too.
at least all the scoring was.
Spoiled. Are you kidding me?
The life without kids.
Come on. That's.
We're not even going to ask
Why
about
would you even brag
Josh's.
about that?
Yeah, Josh doesn't ever sleep. He's like, I get 5 minutes here, another.
Yeah. A performance I'd like to point out, I don't really know why, but Belleville at Yo, the running back over there, Reese for Belleville,
Oh man, yeah.
347 yards I think he finished with, which was a school record I read later. But that kid is really fast and really good. He put on a show over there at Yo Field. And Yo didn't play poorly. They just couldn't come up with a stop
Right.
against that Belleville team. That young defense for Yo kind of learned a few lessons last week, but the offense, Yo's got its playmakers, so I don't think they're gonna. They probably don't want more games like this where it's a shootout, but Yo can definitely put up points. They're just going to have to find a way to stop guys
Their quarterback,
on a more consistent basis.
quarterback Zeinert, he played well.
Yeah, he played well. The running game got going, especially they got it going early, which I think was key for Yo. Bynum went over 125 yards, something like that, I believe. But they returned a kick for a touchdown. Had multiple touchdowns of 50 yards plus, but and you still get the L, so that's not exactly.
I mean, that whole game just seemed like it was just you blink and you're going to miss a score.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Sounds like a Battle of the Bill a few years ago.
Yeah.
60 something to 50, so I don't know.
I thought it was like 140 to 93.
It felt like it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
A game that also ended after 2 a.m.
It's gonna be wild. Anyway, I think that's the podcast for this week. Does anyone want to talk about anything other than football? I don't. I was just curious.
If we want to talk about our feelings, we can do that. But I'm probably going to go home. So
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Well, if you follow me on Twitter, I did kind of point out that Thursday is a unique situation in Major League sports where the NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and NFL all play games on the same day, which I'm not sure has ever happened before.
Yeah, you said meaningful games in your tweet, and I was
As meaningful as far as games that count.
Yeah.
Either playoff games
Regular,
or regular
yeah,
season.
yeah.
Not like pre-season or...
Well, baseball, I mean, the season's so short. I mean, those games are really, each one is...
that Reds Brewers game is really meaningful.
Yeah, but MLB,
I don't even know if that's a game.
MLB season is so short, the Rangers were out of the playoff picture day one of the season.
Oh,
Does that upset you, or are you?
It kind of does.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I have a history of rooting for teams that just aren't going to get there.
Like the Cowboys, or
Well, now, yeah. But I was a faithful Cowboy follower back in the 90s,
before, yeah.
And the 70s when I was like 2.
man, ups and downs, hills and valleys.
Yep.
Yes, and turning off the phone. Also,
See you
So
next
long.
time.
See you next week.